The best thing about this clamp rack is it can basically hold any type of clamp. For clamp storage, you have definitely come to the right place. I'm cutting all the pieces for the clamp rack to their final widths on the table saw. I'll mark the front and back pieces so I can cut them to their final lengths on the miter saw. Since I'm cutting all the pieces for 2 clamp racks, I'll put both front pieces on top of each other, making sure the far end is flush. Then I'll cut them to their final lengths at the exact same time. I'll do the same thing with the back pieces. I have created detailed written and video plans for this project, and I'll put a link to those plans in the description. I'll cut the middle and side pieces to their final dimensions on the miter saw using a stop block for repeatable cuts. Now for the final piece, I don't like to use the stop block anymore because there's not a lot of meat to hold on to, so it's a little dangerous. So I use one of the pieces I've already cut as a reference. I make sure the ends are perfectly flush, I line it up with my blade, and I make the final cut. Even though we're almost done with the project, I'm going to label all of my pieces to make sure that assembly goes really smoothly. To cut the angle on the top of each side piece, I'm going to use the front and back pieces as a reference. I'll make a mark where each side piece meets the front and a mark where each side piece meets the back. Then, after connecting these marks with a ruler, I'll use my miter saw to cut this angle. Now at this point, you have all the pieces cut to their final dimensions. I like to put it all together without glues and screws, just so I can practice how it's gonna go together for final assembly. I'm going to make a mark where each middle piece is going to go. I'm putting some paper down just so I don't get glue on my workbench. Then I'm initially securing the middle and side pieces to the back piece with just glue and clamps. Make sure the middle and side pieces are nice and square to the back piece. I'll let the glue set for 30 or 40 minutes, and then I'll recess some screws into all the pieces. You don't need to recess these screws very much, just enough so they don't come in contact with the wall. I'm making sure to drill a pilot hole before I drill in each screw, because if I don't, I risk splitting the plywood. And I'm not hiding these screws with dowels because they'll be against the wall and not visible. I'm putting the front piece on the back assembly and marking right in the middle of where each middle piece meets the front piece. Then I'm using my 3/8 inch Forstner bit to drill 1/4 of an inch deep, and this is where the 1¼ inch screws will go. I'm putting the back assembly of the clamp rack right where I'm going to drill it into the wall. I'm marking exactly where the studs are so I can pre-drill those holes. I'm marking exactly where I need to drill the holes to attach the clamp rack into the wall studs. I'll recess these holes slightly with the Forstner bit and then drill all the way through with a regular drill bit. I'm going to use 7 screws to secure the clamp rack to the wall studs. I'm using 2 screws on the side and then 5 screws on the back. This may be a little overkill, but I want to make sure this clamp rack doesn't go anywhere. I'm drilling 2 pilot holes and then with one hand switching drill bits and then putting 2 screws in the front piece. This will keep the front piece nice and steady while you drill the other pilot holes and drill in the other screws. If you have 2 drills, it'll be even easier. Just equip each one with the necessary drill bit. I'm cutting some 3/8 inch dowels, gluing them into the holes to hide the screws, and then cutting them flush with a flush trim saw. I'm using walnut dowels because they were only a few dollars more than the oak or pine dowels, and they look really, really nice. Finally, I am sanding them flush. Now you may have already figured this out, but there's a reason that the middle pieces are not flush with the front piece. This is done intentionally. On these trigger clamps and these F-style clamps, the front is not flush with the entire top piece. If the middle piece was flush with the front piece and you tried to hang one of these clamps right where the middle piece was, it would tilt and not be very secure. But since the middle piece is shorter than the front piece, these clamps will sit nice and flush. You did it! Nice job! May your clamps be now forever organized. Thank you for choosing to build a better clamp rack, and remember, be kind, be awesome.